The Supreme Court upheld the death penalties in the Carr brothers case. A jury convicted Jonathan and Reginald Carr of a crime spree that left 5 people dead back in December of 2000.
The Carr brothers were sentenced to death after being convicted of capital murder and for killing 5 people and injuring.
It started as a quiet winter night in Wichita. But before sunrise, 5 innocent friends would face a nightmare beyond imagination.
The Carr brothers are convicted of abusing 4 friends for hours and then killing them. The victims are Aaron Sander, Brad Haka, Heather Muller, and Jason Bedford. Another woman survived the attack and testified against the Carr brothers. Ann Walenta, a local cellist, was injured in a separate attack and died later at the...
On December 14th, 2000, 25-year-old schoolteacher Holly drove through the snowy streets of Wichita with her beloved dog Nikki sitting beside her. She was heading to her boyfriend's home on East Birchwood Drive, planning to spend the night there. Her boyfriend, Jason Befort, was a 26-year-old high school teacher and basketball coach. He shared the triplex condo with 2 roommates, Aaron Sander, a 29-year-old studying to become a priest, and Brad Haka, a 27-year-old financial analyst. Jason wasn't home when Holly arrived, but since she had her own key, she let herself in and was warmly welcomed by Aaron and Brad. Not long after, Heather Muller, another teacher and Aaron's close friend, joined them. Heather and Aaron had once dated, but their strong faith had led them to separate. Aaron planned to enter the priesthood, and Heather wanted to become a nun. While waiting for Jason to return from basketball practice, Holly sat in his room grading papers. When he finally arrived, everyone gathered for dinner, enjoying food, laughter, and casual conversation. It was a peaceful evening. Before heading to bed, Jason made sure all the doors were locked. Heather took Jason's room. Aaron settled on the couch, while Jason, Holly, and Nikki curled up together in another room. Just as they were about to sleep, the porch light flicked on. Jason grumbled about turning it off. Moments later, they heard Aaron talking to someone at the door. It was past 11 p.m., too late for visitors. Suddenly, shouting erupted. A tall man burst into the room with a gun, followed by another dragging Aaron inside. Their dog Nikki barked until one intruder threatened to shoot her, forcing Holly to hold her tight. The gunman demanded to know who else was in the house. Moments later, Brad and Heather were brought in. The friends were ordered to strip at gunpoint, beginning one of Kansas's most horrific nights. Days earlier, the same men had kidnapped Andrew Schreiber, a college baseball player, forcing him to withdraw cash before beating and abandoning him. 4 days later, they shot librarian Ann Walenta when she tried to escape during a carjacking. She later died, but managed to describe her attackers. Detective Kevin Brasser feared their crimes were escalating, and he was right. Their next random target was the Birchwood Drive home. Inside, they terrorized the 5 friends, searching for valuables and demanding money. When they found little, they humiliated and abused them. The victims were locked in a closet as the attackers took turns forcing them to withdraw cash. Jason was taken away at gunpoint while the others were guarded. Then one intruder assaulted Holly. She saw the gun nearby and thought of fighting back, but fear for her friends kept her still. When he was done, she was thrown back into the closet. Heather was taken next, and from inside, the others could only listen in horror. The gunman ordered her to come with him, allowing her only to wear a sweater, leaving her bare from the waist down as she stepped into the freezing snow. Holding her at gunpoint, he made her drive Jason's truck through the dark, icy streets. For a long time, they drove in silence until he began asking disturbing questions about what had happened earlier. Terrified, Holly pretended to agree with whatever he said, hoping to keep him calm and survive. When she asked if they were planning to kill them, the man told her they would all be left alive once the robberies were done. Trying to believe him, Holly followed his orders, stopping at one ATM after another to withdraw money. As Holly completed the ATM withdrawals, her heart raced. Every second beside the gunman felt like her life could end. Trying to appear calm, she followed every order, praying he would let them live. Then, in a disturbingly calm voice, the taller man said he wished they'd met under better circumstances. When they returned, Aaron was forced to take her place. Holly was stripped again and locked in the closet with Heather. The shorter gunman drank whiskey, mocked the captives, and found a popcorn tin containing an engagement ring. Jason quietly admitted he planned to propose to Holly on December 22nd. The man pocketed it without emotion. Soon after, Holly was pulled out again. The attacker smirked, saying, "Relax, we're not going to shoot you yet." That single word crushed her last hope. Both women were assaulted again, then forced into sweaters and marched barefoot into the freezing garage. Holly and Heather were shoved into Aaron's car trunk, while the men locked the others in another vehicle. They were driven to a snowy field and ordered to kneel. Holly knelt beside Jason. Then came the gunfire. She was shot in the head but survived, the bullet deflected by a butterfly-shaped hair clip. Pretending to be dead, she lay still as the killers ran their truck over the bodies and fled. Wounded and freezing, Holly crawled through the snow for over a mile until she reached a nearby home and called 911. Police soon found her 4 friends dead in the field. Within hours, investigators identified the killers, brothers Reginald and Jonathan Carr. Both were captured after being recognized by witnesses and linked to stolen items, including Holly's engagement ring. Their crimes, 5 murders, assaults, and robberies, left Wichita shaken. On November 4, 2002, after weeks of testimony and over 1,000 pieces of evidence, the jury found both Reginald and Jonathan Carr guilty on nearly all counts, including 5 murders. Neither man showed emotion as the verdict was read. Sentencing. The next day, the jury began deliberations on sentencing, death or life in prison. Public outrage had reached a peak. Effigies of the brothers were hung from trees in Wichita, a sight that stirred national condemnation for its racial imagery. Psychologists testified about the brothers' abusive upbringing and potential brain damage to their temporal lobes, which might have impaired empathy and impulse control. But prosecutors rejected this defense. They knew right from wrong, said District Attorney Falston. They simply didn't care. Holly took the stand once more, describing her lifelong trauma, nightmares, panic, and scars that never healed. "The sentence you give them," she said, "will be far kinder than the one they gave to me and my friends." After 7 hours of deliberation, the jury returned its decision. Both Reginald and Jonathan Carr were sentenced to death. In addition to the death penalty, the brothers received life sentences for the murder of librarian Anne Walenta, plus 40 years for other crimes. The victims' families later won a wrongful death lawsuit against the state for the clerical error that had released Reginald days before the massacre. But Kansas law automatically triggers death penalty appeals. In 2014, the Kansas Supreme Court overturned their sentences, ruling that they should have had separate sentencing hearings. The U.S. Supreme Court later reversed that decision, reinstating their death sentences in 2016. Today, both Reginald and Jonathan Carr remain on death row at the El Dorado Correctional Facility, continuing to file appeals. Their legal teams have since accused the Wichita police of racial bias, citing evidence of racist texts exchanged by some officers. But no court has found the brothers' convictions unjust. Legacy and healing detective Rick Craig, one of the first officers at the crime scene, remained close with survivor Holly. Years later, Holly found a sense of peace when she married Andrew Schreiber, the only other survivor of the Carr brothers' crime spree. Together, they left Wichita to rebuild their lives. Scholarships were later created in memory of the victims, Heather's at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic School and Anne's at Wichita State University. Detective Craig summed it up best. Holly's courage is nothing short of extraordinary, a light that refused to fade, even in unimaginable darkness. Her strength reminds us that even in the most haunting stories, some light still survives. This marks the end of our deep dive into one of America's most disturbing true crime cases. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe to Last Known Truth for more untold stories that deserve to be remembered. Share your thoughts in the comments, because every voice helps keep their memory alive and reminds us how fragile yet powerful life truly is.